Hi, my name is Deyanira Baca. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I want to begin by telling you a little bit about myself. I'm 17 years old. I'm currently a senior at Hug High School. I am in the top 5% of my class. Will graduate with honors, and I plan to enroll into medical school after graduation. However, my journey has not been an easy one. I am the middle child of four. My oldest siblings are twins, a brother named Edwin, who dropped out of high school, and a sister named Miritza, who barely graduated high school. They are both 18. And a brother who is 14 years old. His name is Marvin, and he attends Clayton Middle School. To say we were raised in a violent home will be a huge understatement. My father has always been a violent and selfish person with a taste for gambling and drinking. Unfortunately, my mother was often the victim of his rap. He will constantly strike her in front of my siblings and me. Those are some of my strongest memories I have, which is odd since my parents were rarely home. They both had jobs with long hours. My mom worked in housekeeping at a local casino, while my dad worked when and where he could find them. My mother is a smart woman, and she was promoted often, much to the disappointment of my father, whose jealousy of her success grew daily. When I was 3 years old, my dad decided to move the family back to Mexico. He had enough. He couldn't stand the fact that he had a wife that made more money than he did. When I lived in Mexico, I was living with my grandmother. My father took my mom to live somewhere apart from us, so we hardly ever saw her. When I was living with my grandmother, we lived with very few possessions, and we lived in what must be considered poverty. But I was happy. I had a lot of family who loved us and were there for us. I continued going to school and living with my grandmother for the next 7 years. When I returned, when I was 10 years old, my father lost his job, realizing he had more employment opportunities back in the United States. So he moved the family back to Reno. When I came back in 6th grade, I enrolled in Sierra Vista Elementary School. Things were difficult. I only spoke and understood Spanish, so classes and homework were extremely challenging. The stress at home was getting worse, and my father's drinking and rage didn't help. That's when my mom told me something that changed my life. She told me she didn't want me to have the same life she had, and that I had to work hard and do a better job at school in order to have a better life. That's when I found that education was the answer. I studied hard and paid closer attention. I asked my teachers for help to follow along in class and to learn English. And as I went through middle school, I challenged myself to difficult classes, and I found that with focus, I could do advanced schoolwork. When I started attending Hug High School, I enrolled in honors and AP classes, as well as student government and community service clubs like Key Club, Honor Society, and FBLA. My problems at home were less of a distraction because school was my priority. I was happy. I felt I had found a solution to my troubled home life. That's when things almost fell apart. My grandma got really sick the summer after my junior year. My family and I decided to go back to Mexico to be with her. I personally witnessed her dying and was devastated. It was like losing my mom. She was always there for me, and she loved me. Suddenly, I felt very lonely. I felt very alone. My family decided to stay in Mexico a while after her passing. And I knew I needed to be in contact with my teachers or risk dropping out. That's when I realized how much support I had at Hug High School. My teachers never gave up on me. They helped me, and they were always there for me. My only hope was in my teachers back in Reno.
Hope. Hope is a word we hear often, but do we really know what it means? My name is Lauren Ford. I'm the principal of Hug High School, and I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. My road to education began in high school, in a suburb of Chicago. Maine West High School had a preschool program on its campus, and the first class I took my junior year was working in this program. I had an assignment where I had to develop a lesson plan and teach a lesson to the preschool students. My teacher used my lesson as an example for all the other students. It was in that moment that I knew that education was my calling. I graduated from Illinois State University and immediately went to work as a kindergarten teacher in an impoverished neighborhood just outside of Chicago. I taught for 8 years, became an assistant principal, and then principal of a K-8 school. In 2005, family brought me to Reno, where I became the assistant principal of Trainer Middle School, and then the principal for the next 5 years. In 2011, I became the principal of Hug High School. Where I grew up in Chicago, when you talk about poor areas, you cite the city, the neighborhood, the streets. In Reno, you use the name of the high school. So when people hear Hug High School, they automatically think poor, gangs, violence, at-risk kids. Hug's graduation rate, 51%, the lowest in the district. This does not help our image. Where's the hope at Hug, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. That image does not tell you about our journey. Today, Hug's graduation rate is 51%, but in 2006, it was 36%. That year, 2006, our dropout rate was 18%. Today, our dropout rate stands at 5%. Many of our students, like Dea, have to get a job to support their family. We have a program called Nighthawks for those students who have to get a full-time job. Night school gives them that hope of graduating. We have a signature program called the Health Science Academy in conjunction with the University of Nevada School of Medicine. The Academy provides students with the opportunity to explore different medical fields and to work hand in hand with the medical students at UNR. In addition, it gives them exposure to a college campus they might not otherwise have seen, and for some, it gives them the hope to be the first in their family to go to college. Our Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, or JORTC, is the largest in the Washoe County School District. Dea is a product of this program. She has been enrolled in JORTC for all 4 years of high school. We have 1,352 students at Hug High School, and our master schedule is organized in such a way that a student's success depends on their determination and interest. We do not have a one-size-fits-all model, but a design to meet the needs of all of our students, no matter what those needs, challenges, or interests might be. Hug has to be and provide all of the structure, consistency, and stability we can for our students to be successful. As Dea spoke about her struggles, as a school, we have to understand that all of our students come to school with struggles, many of them living just day by day. It's our job to represent the hope that there is more than just day by day. There's next year, there's graduation, there's college. My work at Hug is just beginning. I want to raise the bar. I want to provide a safe, structured place of education. What is hope? Hope is our job. It is our passion. It is to make sure that every student has the opportunity to graduate, the promise of a better life, and the determination to achieve all of their goals and dreams.
My name is Pedro Martinez, and as the superintendent of the Washoe County School District, serving over 63,000 students, I have the honor of working with passionate leaders like Lauren, our principals, our teachers, our counselors, our support staff, ensuring that all of our children do not lose hope, that they persevere, regardless of the challenges they have. As I look at our district, and I talk to our staff, and I tell them every day, we are not just educating children, we are changing the lives of our children every single day. I know firsthand the impact of a quality education, because my journey was not easy in getting here. I was born in a small city in central Mexico. I never got to know my grandparents because they died at an early age due to a lack of quality health care. In fact, when I was 4 years old, I had a 2-year-old sister that passed away. I still remember the box that that was brought into our house, that was her coffin. As a father now of a 2-year-old, I think now about how my father felt and how devastated he was. So my father knew that in order for us not just to have a better life, but to survive, we had to leave Mexico. We came to this country. We landed in Chicago in an inner city neighborhood that was very violent, very high poverty. But we had parishes, 3 parishes that took in my family. They gave us clothing. They helped my father find a job. They helped us find an apartment. And I had a very loving family. But my parents never had more than a 2nd grade education. So what changed my life was when I was in 5th grade, a group of teachers got together and they developed an enrichment program. This school was all poverty. Community was very violent. And I learned later that the district did not support the teachers and their principal. In fact, they told them, why are you setting up this program? You have all these kids that are below level. Why don't you focus on those children? And the teachers and the principal said, no, we have a group of children that have a lot of potential. I was one of those kids. That is the reason why I'm here. Because of their support, I was able to get into our gifted programs in Chicago in the middle school and high school. By the way, the gifted programs in Chicago have the reputation of being harder to get into them, harder even than Harvard. And so because of them, I was able to enter these programs. Let me tell you about my high school. My high school had 2,000 students. I didn't even know we had 2,000 students. In fact, my 9th grade class alone started with 700 9th graders. But I remember my gifted class, the program I was in, we only had about 150 of us. So I always thought that that was it. That was the school. But after my first year, I saw that we had 700. But then the 2nd year, that number reduced dramatically. And the 3rd year, it kept going down. And I kept wondering, what is happening here? By the time I graduated, only 170 students graduated. The majority of us were the kids in the gifted program. We were the ones that went to college. Many of us, the first in our family to go to college. Because of a lot of help with counselors, professors, I was able to graduate college with honors. I came out of college, joined the private sector, worked for the 2 largest consulting firms in the world, and I thought I had it made. Here's an inner city kid traveling around the country, meeting with CEOs, telling them how to run their operations, how to improve profitability. I said, I have arrived. Then one of our clients, the Archdiocese of Chicago, needed help, and they asked me to join this project. At that time, I learned that the Archdiocese of Chicago had the largest Catholic school system, 2nd largest in the country. They also had the largest social service arm supporting children, families, and seniors that lived in poverty in the country. And so I learned this, and I was able to be on that project to help them. At the end of the project, they asked me to join them. And I got to tell you, I hesitated. I said, wait a minute, I have my plans all set. Truth be told, I was already managing my corporate office. And so at that time, my family came to me and said, think about where you came from. And I realized that I needed my life to be more meaningful. I stood at the Archdiocese for about 8 years, helped them turn around their operations, protected their Catholic schools, increased the number of clients that we were serving. And at that time, Arnie Duncan had just become the CEO and superintendent of the Chicago Public Schools, serving 410,000 children, 90% of them living in poverty, the system that I grew up in. Arnie found out about me, recruited me. He was putting together a small team to turn around the school system. I joined Arnie, was there for almost 7 years, and we had some of the highest academic gains and graduation gains in that district's history. Now Arnie Duncan is our Secretary of Education. That led me to come to Nevada. I've now been here 4 years in Nevada, working with our largest districts to improve graduation gains, including 14 points here in Washoe, 7 points just last year in Clark County. But our work is not done. Working together with our passionate leaders, our teachers, our counselors, our staff, we are leading the state in transforming education. We are making sure that our children are not losing hope, that they are determined, that they persevere regardless of the challenges they have. We now have signature academies in every one of our high schools focused on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, pre-med, nursing. Students starting from 9th grade, not only thinking about graduation, but also what's beyond high school. This year, we went to the homes of hundreds of children who were at risk of not graduating, talking to their parents, talking to the students, convincing them to stay, and at the same time, expanding our advanced placement classes for our advanced students. This is not just a job, this is a mission. We are making sure that our children do not lose hope and that they overcome the challenges that they face.
Hope, hope brought me back to Reno. The support from my teachers, counselors, and principals helped me stay at Hook High School. When I came back, in the middle of my senior year, I was severely behind. But my teachers never gave up on me. I studied hard, did lots of extra homework. Not only did I shine, not only did I succeed in cutting up with my work, but I shined. My teachers were always there for me. Ms. Van Horn, Mr. Aids, they always helped me with my homework. I continued to be involved in leadership, community service clubs, while improving my GPA. I also took on a part-time job to help my family pay with bills, but I never let that distract me from my goal of graduating. This is not the end for me, but just the beginning. Despite all the chaos, encouragement, and violence at home, I was able to succeed in high school and will succeed in college. I am actively applying for scholarships to help pay with college costs, and I want to enter pre-medical school with the intention of becoming a doctor. I want to prove to my father and siblings that where I come from will not define who I am, nor do I have to accept the life my mother had. Education, hard work, and the support from my teachers and principals have made it possible to become what I have always dreamed. But most of all, determination, perseverance, and hope. Thank you.